Clark. My debut 1990 September, Bristol City away, to get that opportunity, what thousands of Geordies only dream of.
Lee Clark 1-0.
Williams.
My first goal for Sunderland away at Leicester was a left foot volley. I didn't realise my left foot was for kicking the ball with it as well. I thought it was just for standing it.
Williams for Sunderland.
Hignett.
Playing against Chelsea and to score the first goal there is something that still lives with me now, and it's what most people will talk to me about.
Hignett with the ball. Go on, Higgy. You beauty. You Scouser Teesside beauty.
Worshipped every weekend. It's the three legends. Banter and rivalry across the northeast. On the Toon, the Cat, the Red.
Means it must be a Friday then, fellas. We're back. It is the three legends. Craig Hignett, ex-Borough. Lee Clark, ex-Newcastle. Darren Williams, ex-Sunderland. I suppose I could have tagged Sunderland onto Clarky as well. Higgy, you never played for Sunderland or Newcastle, did you?
No, I didn't.
Sounded quite proud, that one.
You said that, not me.
I was just trying to get you to bother me. Look, we're doing something a bit different this week as well, fellas. So it's your show. You can take it away. We've got the WhatsApp number, the usual WhatsApp number into the studio. If you want to talk to the boys, 0330 043 2002. We're also streaming live on Facebook Live on the Cat, the Red and the Toon. I'm sorry, you're not going to see the boys in all their glory because, Clarky's on the sun lounger with the tequila in his hand. Daz is in a pub. And God knows where Higgy is these days. But it's my ugly mug in the studio. But at least you can listen to the show. You can put your comments in on Facebook Live to the boys. So it's over to you, fellas.
Well, where do you want to start?
I'm looking forward to the transfer window. Mate. When's it open?
Well, hey, me and you both, Daz. I think there's only people who've gone out,
mate.
isn't it? So the window. Let's start at the window. It's been so quiet. Football, the whole of football's been quiet, hasn't it? There hasn't been any real proper ones where you think, wow, that's a good one, or that. It's just been a non-event, hasn't it?
Oh, totally. I think you'd think there was a cost of living crisis going on, wouldn't you? I mean, it's mental. It's like, honestly, mate. I mean, you're looking at it, and let's be honest, it's poor, isn't it?
Well, Clarky, your one, the profit and sustainability, I think that's scared a few boys off, hasn't it, this year? Everyone's panicking a little bit about their budgets, and we'd heard a bit of news about Newcastle. They might have had to sell a few, but they haven't, have they?
That's what I mean, Higgy. That's a good thing for me, and I said this when the stories start circulating, potentially, Trippier, Bruno Ramirez, Longstaff was linked with it being a homegrown. Almiron, possibly Callum Wilson, all these players, some stage of the window were linked with moves away. So, and I was saying at the time I'd rather nothing had happened and all those players just stayed, because there was talk of it having to happen for Newcastle to bring players in. So I just thought keep this squad together and then wait till the summer when hopefully more commercial deals could come in and it'll be a fresh season again and you can start again in the summer. So I'm delighted nobody's gone out. I think Eddie is, and it's like you say, Higgy, it's affecting a lot of clubs now, and I think what's happened with Everton and Forest is put everyone on their back foot, frightened them a little bit, to be honest. He still didn't stop Forest, mate. Still didn't stop Forest.
No, it didn't. Well, last year, the same transfer window, 780 million quid, I think it was, that was spent. I think it was something like that. 780 million quid. This year, they'll be lucky to get 100 million.
Aye.
So it just shows you that, whatever it is, that the rules are working, if you like. I understand why they're there, but I do think it takes away the dream, doesn't it, of someone taking over a football club and bridging the gap and becoming part of the elite. But I think the rule takes that away, because I think it's really difficult to do it now.
Yeah, I agree. And when you look at even, go on, Daz.
I think my worry and concern, mate, is that we've kind of let more go out than we've got in, and I think the squad itself was a bit thin on the ground anyway. And that's a bit worrying. Obviously, the other worrying factor is we didn't get a striker.
Yeah.
But I don't think anyone did, Daz, did they? I mean, we lost one. In fact, Morgan Rogers going. People wondered whether the club would spend and get a striker in. But when you look at what Kiefer Moore's gone for, I think his is a loan, but he's on something ridiculous, isn't he, a week? And you think, well, is that worth it? Would Middlesbrough or Sunderland benefit now from getting a striker in, Daz? Because even if they do make the playoffs, and I'll touch on this in a bit, because Clarky, I know you go mad at it. If they get promoted via the playoffs, you imagine them next year in the Premier League. Do you think they're ready? Any of them?
They're going to need a massive investment, aren't they? Massive
huge
investment.
I don't think you can. You need to build something, and then when you're at a level of, say, a Leicester, because I think Leicester obviously are going to win the league, I think, and even their manager's getting booed now, which is ridiculous. 10 points clear at the top, and he's getting booed for the way they play. Or that's stupid. But I think you have to build and have a squad of that ilk to go up and stand a chance. And listen, even then, you're not guaranteed, are you?
No.
Well, this is the thing, mate. You're not guaranteed, and I think we've seen over the past few weeks, what the gap, the distance, between the Premier League and obviously the Championship now, and it was massive. Let's be honest, and it's a scary thought to think, if you do get promoted, you're going into that environment. It's gonna, you're gonna have to dig deep or be very, very clever in the way you do your business.
I'm gonna upset you, Clarky, now, because you're a massive advocate of it. I've watched the last 4 games between Premier League sides and Championship sides. So I'm at Newcastle in that. What Bournemouth did to who did they do it to? Bournemouth. They beat in the Cup 5 Swansea.
Swansea.
Yeah, seen Middlesbrough at Chelsea in the semi-final, and then I watched Norwich try and do it against Liverpool. Why do these teams think that they're going to out-football these teams?
No, I know.
I can't get it.
What Norwich done, Higgy, they tried out football them, but when Liverpool had the ball, they just let them have it. There was no press or anything. It was just
there was nothing.
It was just like, go on, you can go and do what you want, and then when we get it, we'll just try and outpass you, which is absolutely ridiculous. Playing against one of the best pressing teams in the business.
Yeah. I mean, it was stupid. I mean, going back to Borough, I know I wasn't here last week, lads, and honestly, I was made up I wasn't, because that game just highlighted the gulf, wasn't it? The gulf between the Premier League and the Championship. And then I kept thinking about you when Borough kept trying to play out and kept trying to get robbed off them, and I'm thinking, the lads would have a field day here, because I don't know why you'd do it. I was really surprised that they didn't change the way they played. But they kept trying to. It was almost as if the whole of the back four had to touch the ball before they could pass it forward. And you've got Morgan Rogers standing 1v1 with Thiago Silva, who didn't look comfortable with him. He looked like he could do a little bit if he got the right service. But they never ever done it early. They didn't even look to him. They had to play through the thirds first before they were trying to find him. So I found that a bit strange. And listen, they got well and truly battered, didn't they? Proper outclassed.
Well, it's just highlighting what we've talked about over the last few weeks, that you've got to understand where you're at, and when you come up against these teams and squads that have got superior players, play at a higher level, you can't just try and do what you normally do in the Championship or whatever. It's just not possible. And you've got to have a different plan. You can't just say, that's our identity, we're going to stick to it. What and get like smashed 6 or 5, and like Norwich 6, Borough, Newcastle beat Sunderland 3. That could easily been 5 or 6. It was men against boys, and Swansea, they were 5-0 down at half time against Bournemouth.
Yeah, they were.
They took their foot off the gas. Bournemouth, that could have ended up double figures. So you surely you've got to see that and say, right, okay, if that ever happens again, we come up against a Premier League team, we've got to show them a bit more, respect. I think it's lacking a little bit respect, actually, when you think about it, because they're thinking they can go into the the Lions' den of these Premier League teams and go and take them on at their own game and get the result. It's just not happening. Sorry, you might get lucky once in a while, but over a long period of time, and especially these games have highlighted it massively. You do have to change, against the teams that you're coming up against, and we've got quality players.
Yeah.
So
So
Always
does
said
your
you've gotta make
transfer
it a bit
window quiet?
scrappy and a bit ugly, don't you?
Yeah.
Very quiet, mate. Barring a few. We've obviously brought in Callum Stiles, Mundell, and the lad from Leeds. I'm not going to try and pronounce his name because I'll have to put my teeth back in. And then we've got the young lads, Reece Walsh, 17-year-old from Glentorian. So yeah, no striker.
Where you looking to place? Where he's going to play Stylesy? What they're bringing him in as? I give him his debut as a 16-year-old at Bury.
I mean, to be fair, mate, for me, I'm not 100% sure. Because we've potentially got Roberts coming back.
Yeah. He's played as a wing back for Barnsley, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's played a wing back for Barnsley, mate. Obviously, we've got the lad from Leeds, obviously, who I believe is a left-hand sider. We've got the lad Mundell, who used to be at Spurs. Spurs, by all accounts, raving about him. He's got a lengthy contract. I think he's just shy of maybe 5 years or something. And then, obviously, like I say, we brought the young lad in at the last gasp of the transfer window, really. But 17-year-old from Glentorian, not 100% sure on him, to be quite honest. I've not really heard much about him. But yeah, we seem to have plenty in the wide areas, mate, or full-back areas, but not where we were all desperate for. But then, on the other hand, we've had a lot go out. We've had, I think 3 or 4 players go out on loan. Obviously, loans are loans. At some point you could recall them or they could come back. But Pritchard ended up leaving, going to Birmingham, which is a funny one because obviously it's kind of, I think he's divided the crowd in two, really. I think some of them are siding with Pritchard and saying, he hasn't been looked after, he's been messed about, and and that's why he's kind of walked away. And then others are saying, he's let everybody down. So yeah, for me, I thought he was a fantastic player and one that we should have held on to, one that we should have offered a contract earlier to. But obviously he didn't fit the model at the time. But by all accounts, that model had a slight change, and they offered him a contract.
It's no surprise, though, Daz, is it? That
They did offer him a new contract, did they?
Yeah, they offered him a new contract, mate. By all accounts, and he on it was I think it was towards the back end of the week, and then basically on the Friday, mate, he notified them that he didn't want to be involved in the squad, and that that was kind of his last part he would have played in the team.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like I say, it's divided people's opinions of him, mate. But we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. We don't know how he's being treated. We just know obviously what we read and what we see. But for me, I think they could have offered him something earlier, and it would have been a better opportunity to keep hold of him.
Yeah, I think it's a bad move for Sunderland.
I'm the same, Clarky. I think he's really important to Sunderland, the way he plays. And I think at the times I've seen Sunderland play, he's controlled games, and everything's gone through him. That's been really good. So I don't think it's any surprise that Mogga's gone for him.
Yeah. No. I mean, I think Mogga, as soon as he left, mate, I think he was kind of putting things in place, potentially to obviously. I think obviously Mogga would have known, what the model was about, whether he was going to be offered or not. At the time, he wasn't going to be offered a contract. So Mogga's going to, he's going to be picked up, and obviously he's going to go for him because he's worked with him. He know what he's about. You know what he's capable of. And he's great. He gets in them little pockets. He's difficult to mark. He ups the tempo when he needs to. And like you say, he can influence games. But obviously, he's gone to a rival team now. So it's one of those situation where you'll come up against him, and lo and behold, he'll probably stick one in the back of the net.
Fellas, we've had a message on Facebook Live from Stu, who's in Canada. He's watching on Facebook Live or listening on Facebook Live because it's my ugly mug that he's got on the screen. Without too many transfers, how do the lads think the rest of the season's going to go for the 3 clubs?
Well, I can think, and I'm hope I'm right, and it looked that way against Villa. I think all of this stuff with Newcastle is that they've lost none of the players, it looked like a team who felt a bit calmer again and looked back to that old self against Villa. So I'm hoping for the rest of the season it'll have a positive impact, that the squad stayed intact. The injury situation seems to be easing a little bit, so players coming back from that. So I think the second half could be an exciting one for Newcastle. I mean, they've obviously got a lot of catching up to do to, you know, even just get into the top 6 and try and get a Europa League place. Because you cannot see many of the top teams that are challenging for top 4 dropping many points. So you'd probably have to say for Newcastle to get anywhere near that, they're going to have an unbelievable second half of the season. But I do think it'll be a lot more relaxed and calmer around the camp now, and it certainly looked that way at Villa Park on Tuesday or Wednesday night, whenever it was. It was a great performance.
I'm the same. I think, you know, looking at the Championship table, I think that 5th and 6th is up for grabs. I think the top 4 are away with it. I think Borough sitting in, Borough 11th now, 40 points, so 3 points behind Sunderland, who are 7th. We've got a game in hand on Sunderland, so that makes Sunday's game really important. Whether they'll have enough to get in, I don't know, but they'll need to start doing something soon, putting a run of results together, getting a little bit of consistency in it. They've been a little bit hit and miss. Not having a striker and having strikers injured as well, letting Morgan Rogers go, will that impact them? I'm not sure it will. You know, Riley McGree, if he comes back, he's more than a good enough replacement for Morgan Rogers. The people they've brought in, Finn Azaz looks like a good player in midfield. Luke Ayling, obviously, we know what he's all about at right back, and then Luke Thomas, who they've brought in on loan to play on the left side, whether that's left wing back or left back. So that I don't think they've improved the squad, but they've sort of made sure that they're still in the mix, if you like. Everyone wants a centre forward. We all know that, but I think they've decided that they couldn't get the right one, or not the one that they wanted, so they've decided to keep the money and then spend it in the summer, regardless of what happens this season. So, and I think that's a sensible way to do it. I do. I think splashing money on players that you're not sure about just because it's January and the transfer window's open is never a good idea, unless you can get the right one that you want. So yeah, I never thought they'd go out and spend a fortune. I thought, you know, the squad is what it is now until the end of the season, and I think they'll be close. Whether they've got enough, I'm not sure. I'm hopeful, but I'm just not sure with them because of the inconsistencies. Yeah,
I would say that's from an outsider looking in. I think that's the issue with Borough, Higgy. They're not. I was just going to say that you cannot see them at this moment in time without putting 4 or 5 wins on the bounce together, can you? They get a couple of good results and then they have a couple of indifferent ones. And I think what you're saying, if they're going to get into that top 6, they're going to have to do that this second half of the season, get a consistent run of results together.
Taz, how do you think Sunderland's going to do?
Yeah, I think from my side, mate, I'm interested to see obviously the new guys have brought in. You know, whether they bring something extra to the team. You know, whether, you know, like I say, there's a lot of praise going around for Mundell. Hopefully, you know, he comes in and does well for us. But I'm pleased to see Roberts coming back. I think he'll make a difference. Like I say, my concern is that we're thin on the ground, squad wise, and you know, we all know what the second half of the season's like. You know, if you're pushing for it and you're going for it and you want to be in those playoffs, it can be a testing time. You know, and that's when you need your squad and you need your squad rotation. For me, have we got enough strength and depth? I'm not 100% sure we have. I'm hoping we have with the new lads have brought in, but like I say, we're a bit thin on the ground. I think, you know, same as Higgy. We haven't really spent a fortune. You know, hopefully, you know, the mindset is to rebuild again at the end of the season, ready to go for it next season.
I think the good thing is, Daz, that league is so tight, and teams don't need to be outstanding, do they, to get themselves in the playoff, because everyone's much of a muchness. You know, Southampton have come with an unbelievable run to get themselves up there. I'm looking more at Coventry and West Brom. And both of them, even though Coventry are flying, West Brom have had some really good results. I think both of them could have a little wobble up as well, you know. And then you look at Hull, who've had some good results, but everyone, like Clarky says, has good results, and then they have a couple of iffy ones, and no one can get a run of winning 5-6 games on the bounce. Because if you do that, you'll get yourself right in there.
Yeah, totally, mate. You know, we've seen it many years. You know, where teams come out of nowhere. You know, towards the back end of the season because they go on such a great run. And like you say, it's getting that consistency, mate. But that consistency comes with it. You know, with working hard. You know, playing a lot of games. You know, getting wins under your belt. It comes with a lot of pressure. You know, and you look at the Sunderland squad. You know, it is a young squad still. You know, and you know, can they cope with that type of pressure? You know, for me, you know, I'm not 100% sure we've got enough of the old heads in there to kind of steady the ship when we need to.
Couple of comments again coming in, fellas. Maybe this one's for you, Lee. Ian from he's a Darlow fan, says, question to the guys: are you surprised nobody went in for Macaulay Langstaff from Notts County or Paul Mullen from Wrexham?
Well, there was talk of Sunderland being interested in him, wasn't there?
Yeah.
And Borough were linked with Longstaff.
Longstaff, yeah.
I think.
Sorry, Lee.
No, I just think that there probably has been bids. I think Notts County in such a strong position financially, they'd probably be asking for quite a substantial amount. So yeah, I think there'd probably be a lot of people inquired about them, and you know. Plus, with the January window, there's always money added on any transfers, especially for strikers. So I think potentially that could have been the stumbling block there. With regards Mullen, I think he moved to Wrexham in anyway from a higher division. One, because obviously the money that they were paying was substantially probably more. But I think closer to home, I think his young boy has autism or something, so they're close to their families, him and his wife, and you know he's on a roller coaster ride with the Wrexham story as well, isn't he? So I think his head wouldn't have been turned by anything really, to be honest with you. He's a bit older than Macaulay Langstaff, so I think I've got no doubts he'll be on everyone's lips again come the summer, because as Higgy pointed out at the start of the show, strikers worth their weight in gold. Everyone's after them. Not many can get them unless you pay that extra premium, especially in January. So yeah, those two lads, certainly Macaulay, he can go up the levels, and I think Notts County will be hoping he goes up with them, you know.
Cool. We'll take one more off Facebook Live. Ryan Taylor's been in touch for Higgy. Middlesbrough's attacking depth in the latter part of the season, is that going to dent promotion hopes, do you think, Craig?
Well, I think, you know, they've got to stop letting goals in first, but I think, you know, you need goal scorers and you need people to put the ball in the back of the net regular. They haven't quite had it this season. You know, Latty Lath is a huffed and puffed. You know, Josh Coburn's done well in spells and in fits and starts. Sam Greenwood, again, has done all right in bits. But they just haven't had that one person that we're all talking about to put the goal or the balls away. And I think it's really hard. I do. You know, when you look at, we mentioned Macaulay Langstaff there, and he's scored loads of goals. He's been brilliant for Notts County. And then we're talking about levels again, and it's a bit of a gamble, in all honesty, to take him. And if they want a premium for him, are you willing to gamble that he can jump the levels and be a success in the Championship? I think it's a real gamble. If you're talking, you know, I think that the money mentioned was about $1.5 million, which is fine. That's not an issue. But if it starts to go up to 4 and 5 million, then that could be an issue. So I think everyone needs a goal scorer. Borough needs to put the ball in the back of the net. And I was talking to Bernie Slavin the other night, and Bernie was saying he doesn't feel Borough score enough. And he's probably right. You know, in fits and starts, you see them score goals, but consistently not. You know, when they need to open people up. I mean, the Rotherham game was a prime example. Couldn't open them up. I think it could be an issue come the end of it, but they need people fit. They need the players back, and I always think Borough need their best team out to be able to compete with the top of that league. And if they haven't got the best team, then I think it's always going to be a hit and miss.
Cool. When are we moving on to the weekend's games? Tell us.
Oh, listen,
not so small.
should we let
matter of,
Clarky get his out of the
Newcastle
way?
game.
We'll let Clarky. Let Clarky get the boring one out of the way.
I've just got a question for Daz beforehand, Tiggy, and I'll get the small game out the way, and then you can crack on. Daz, how's the reaction been since the result against Stoke? Has it eased on the manager, the pressure, or they're still not having him, or is because
no, I think
it can be like a little bit fickle at times. So if the result's positive, has it helped?
They can, mate. Yeah, they can. To be fair, mate, I think it's slightly eased on him, to be quite honest. And I think we touched on this last week, and I said, since he's come in, he's been under a dark cloud, and nobody wanted Mowbray to go. At the end of the day, he came in under that. We obviously had the situation with the bar at the ground. We came under that. And then obviously getting well and truly beat in the game. Against Newcastle. So he's been under a bit of a cloud, and I think I said before, you've got to give managers time and to get in and bed in. Hopefully, like I say, last week was a bit of a turning point. I mean, we go on about wanting a striker. We ended up scoring 3 goals last week. And from great play as well. From great play. But we weren't relying on just Jack Clark to score goals. That was the thing. Because he's been the focal point of a lot of our goals this season. So I think for the manager, mate, I think it has eased a little bit. Obviously, we're then hit. We've had a great result of the weekend. We're now into a really tough game. Obviously against Middlesbrough at the coming this weekend. So whether he'll come under scrutiny, depending on how the game goes, mate, I'm not 100% sure. But it seems at this moment in time that the fans have kind of backed off a little bit, and whether it's been because of being focused on the transfer market and are we bringing a striker in, who's bringing in, this, that, and the other. Maybe that's taking a little bit of shine away from it, and they've kind of forgot about it at the moment. But I think Sunday will be a telling day, mate, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
Before we get on to Sunday, Clarky, you've got a game against Luton, and by the way, Luton have really surprised me, especially lately. They seem as though they've sort of got to grips now with the Premier League. They've made some decent signings who are doing well for them, but you'd expect Newcastle to steamroller them, wouldn't you?
Well, yeah. I mean, we're coming off the back of 2 good performances and results. So we had Fulham in the cup, and then obviously Villa Park, which was always going to be a tough game for her, but I thought they were really impressive. Like you say, Higgy, Luton doing terrifically well. The last couple of months, our results have been really good. I mean, winning in midweek against a good Brighton team in the way they did it. So it's showing you that they believe, and they're showing people they're ready to be in the Premier League, and they're being competitive and getting some positive results. But yeah, I mean, if we want to keep kicking on and try looking up and pushing towards those teams above us, and to try and get into some European competition come the next season, these are the games that you've got to look to take maximum points. Luton at home, but it's not going to be easy. They beat us down there when we're in a bit of a bad run. The injuries are taking that toll, plus the team wasn't playing particularly well then, and they showed you I think I remember saying, if you remember, I said at the time that what they had done down at Luton, they made it into more of a championship type game. They made it into no space, not allowing Newcastle to play, getting in their faces and breaking the game up, and they're not frightened to go a bit longer themselves. They have a bit of power and pace at the top end, so be interesting to see if they approach the away games like that, because they could cause us 1 or 2 problems. But hoping and expecting for a positive result for Newcastle.
I think
Clarky, as far as the injuries have gone and the tiredness, is that gone?
Sorry, a bit fatigue.
As far as the injuries and the tiredness for the lads, is that eased up now?
The injury list's getting better. Apparently, Alexander Isak came off midweek, but he's still got an outside chance of being fit tomorrow. Harvey Barnes got a chance of being involved. Callum Wilson, a chance. Joe Willock, even they mentioned, could have a slight chance of tomorrow, but is not too far away. So, you're talking about it's starting to ease now, and it'll give the manager some options now, because I think that's been the issue for him in terms of when games have been going away from us, or he's been looking to change the momentum in games. He's turning around to his bench and he's like, he's got 4 or 5 defenders on the bench, and the attacking players are all like untried kids, so he hasn't really had a lot of options to change things from the bench. Now that's whether to keep a positive result or try and get change the scoreline. So I think hopefully in the next couple of games those options will be there for Eddie when he turns round to his bench, and he can see, he's got a Harvey Barnes, or he's got a Joe Willock, or he's got a chance to choose between Callum Wilson and Alexander Isak together, or whatever, So yeah, just I think that'll be the big thing, Higgy, for him, and fingers crossed as the season goes on we can get everyone back, because when we have everyone back we've got a really good squad, still not big enough, but a really good squad, and lots of possibilities to change things from the bench. Because you would have seen, I seen 2 of the games midweek, Liverpool and Man City games. I looked at their benches, it was like, wow. Some of the players on them benches for those 2 clubs are just it must be unbelievable. I know De Bruyne's coming back from an injury, but they had like Kyle Walker, Haaland. Imagine that being your bench, and you can turn around and bring them on after an hour when the opposition are knackered or whatever.
It's not a bad thing, is it?
Is it not? No. Must be like heaven.
Aye. Well, yeah, I'd like to think that Luton wouldn't come out and go toe to toe with you at the weekend. I think they'll be a bit more switched on, and I think they'll err on the side of caution, because obviously we've all seen what you guys can do at home and how you approach the game initially. So I think hopefully they don't go about it how we did, to be quite honest, because they could end up with a good hiding.
No, listen, I definitely agree with that, Daz. I think what they'll do is, as I said, I think they'll be aggressive, they'll be physical, and they'll try and stop us from playing in that way, So it's worked for them so far. They're doing terrifically well. I think they're, defying the odds. I think they probably would have been one of the favourites to go down, but they're putting up a real good fight at the minute.
Aye.
They were my favourites
like
to go down, Clarky. I thought they'd have the worst points haul ever after seeing them in the way they played in the Championship to now. But they've been the one who's coped with it the best, which I find unbelievable. Burnley ran away with the league, but they can't buy a win at the minute.
Yeah.
But do you not? They play the scrappy side of the game, Iggy. Do you know what I mean? That's for me. They do that side good. And that's their strength. And I think, like we've said, when the Championship side comes up against the Premiership side, you've got to do what you're good at. Don't go about it and try and go toe to toe with these guys. You know what I mean? Do what suits you. And at the time, they do well.
It might be the case, like we're saying, Higgy, but I've never seen a lot of Burnley, so I cannot really comment. But for me, and Wade Vincent company seems to be, I would have thought they're trying to go to all these Premier League teams and take them on and do what they've done in the Championship.
Yeah,
and it's probably just not possible. They haven't got the standard of player to do that when they go to these big clubs, and because like you say, they're not putting any kind of run together. They'll have an odd win or a draw here, but then they lose 4 or 5 on the bounce. Whereas Luton, and Daz makes a good point, they're doing the ugly side of the game really well, and that must be unsettling teams when they play against them in the Premier League, So it just shows you sometimes having that other option and being able to handle it a bit better. And like you said, you probably had them down. Most of them probably had them down to get relegated, and whereas Burnley, because they ran away with the league last season, thinking they would have done better. But it's how you go about your business once you get up to the highest level,
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think you're right. I think they have got quality though. They've bought well, haven't they? Andros Townsend, Ross Barkley, people with a little bit of quality who know what the league's about. So as well as having that side of the game, they've got a little bit of quality as well, haven't they, mixed in with that?
Yeah.
That's
well, he looks like he's enjoying his football again, doesn't he? Ross Barkley looks like he's enjoying his football again.
Yeah.
Well, then, lads, how get on to the Sunday? I know you're so desperate. Come on,
Daz. Listen, Daz. After the 4-0. After the 4-0, Daz, when we beat you 4-0 at Stadium Light.
Can you say that name more times?
You keep breaking up.
At the 4-0.
I get after, but I can't.
Right.
I get after, but I missed the next bit, mate. Sorry.
And I read a little bit Was it Dan Ballard? Was it saying?
Yeah.
They're not out for revenge this time. It's it's another game that they want to win. Obviously, it's a big game, but they're not out for revenge. Yeah. Is he just lying?
Well, let's be honest, mate. You know, we all know. You know, if you've been done by obviously a team that's close to you in distance, a team that's close to you in the league, wherever it is, really. In all honesty, you want to go back and get one over on them, don't you? Let's be honest. So he's probably slightly lying in a way, mate. So it's probably tongue in cheek. But yeah, it's that the first game was. It was embarrassing. Obviously, the sending off changed the game, but not to that extent. Yeah. It shouldn't change the game. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I think every Sunderland fan or every Sunderland player will be thinking, we want to go down there and do them over. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, and that's you've got to have that as a player. You know what I mean? You want to get revenge. It's part and parcel of football, isn't it? It's part and parcel of competing, and like you touched on earlier on, it's a massive game. It's a massive game to decide, if we're going to be pushing, to get in there in the playoffs. And not only that, it's to obviously try and keep that distance as well, because, a win for yourselves takes you right directly below us, do you know what I mean? And then obviously, you're competing for 5th and 6th place as well.
Yeah, I think they've got a game in hand, haven't they, Middlesbrough? But it's, you're either...
Yeah.
But I think it's an important one for Borough at home. I think Borough need to win it.
Yeah.
I do. I think they need, like I said before, they need to start making a move sooner rather than later. Not having Isaiah Jones is going to be a bit of a blow. He's still going to be out.
Yeah.
And when you see some of the games when he's on fire, he's such an asset, isn't he? People can't handle him sometimes when he's on fire.
Well, this is the thing. He causes problems at our place, mate. Do you know what I mean? He causes massive problems, and he is a game changer. And this is the thing, and I'm deeply, heartily sorry that he's not playing.
You sound it.
but on the other side of things, yeah, mate, it's a bonus for us that he's not playing because he played extremely well in the first game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the injury list that Middlesbrough have got. Bangora is out, Lati Lat's out, Josh Coburn is a doubt, but they have got some players who are coming back, who've been involved. Paddy McNair's been involved recently as well, been on the bench, which has been good to see him back. But they're still missing the forward players. I think Marcus Force might be all right for the game, which again, someone who's, I think he's probably the best finisher Middlesbrough have got at the minute.
Yeah.
So it's good to have him back if he is back. But I think I can see goals in it. I don't think it being a tight, boring game. I think the way both teams play, I think it will be an exciting game, and I think there will be some goals in it. Even though both teams aren't renowned for scoring goals, are they? But I do. I can see both teams scoring in this one.
Yeah, this is the thing, mate. We're not renowned for goal. I mean, we ended up going scoring 3 last week. I didn't think, I know I took us for 3-1, but you say that, maybe it's a bit tongue in cheek because, we haven't been flawless, we haven't been scoring regularly, and for me, you look at the situation. I mean, I think the bonus for us is, possibly Roberts coming back into the side. He gives us something different. He's very lively. He's an attack-minded player, and he can create stuff. So that's a bonus for us. I don't think there's anybody else really coming back from injury at this moment in time. I still think there's lengthy terms on quite a few of them. But like I say, it'd be interesting to see who they involve in the squad as well. From the new signings.
Got a couple of comments in. Stu says.
Sorry, mate.
You were just breaking up there, mate. Sorry.
Go on, Dave.
I was going to say, okay. Couple of comments. Stu says it's nice to see the Mackham still blaming the sending off. Patrick's asking.
If you use me right, Dave, I said the sending off changed the game, but not to that extent.
We won't ask about scoring in a derby, Daz, because you'll have one over on me then. Patrick's asking what the score's going to be on Sunday. We'll come on to that at the end, Patrick, just to let you know. He reckons the Borough's going to win. Yeah, I mean, they're the comments coming in at the moment, fellas, on Facebook Live. But Ted's in Cyprus, and he's got a question for Daz. Daz, Do you see Borough as a derby match?
I do personally, mate. I do. I'll be honest. I know everybody goes on. It's not our direct derby type thing. Newcastle's our derby, but we're in the same league together, so it is a derby. Do you know what I mean? It is a derby for me personally. Without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, I've been watching me goal all day. Do you know what I mean?
Which one's that?
Where's this nonsense come from, Daz?
I'm not too sure, mate. I'm not too sure where it's come from and why they suddenly decide it's not a derby. It's crazy, mate. Because if you're like you say, if there was nobody closer than Leeds, you class that as a derby game. Do you know, because it's the closest game. But I don't, I just don't get the whole thing about it. I really don't.
And I've just got to throw in
for me, it's a derby game.
Andrew, who's watching on the Toon,
we
says,
class
"All
it
right,
as a
lads."
derby, don't we, Dave?
Oh, we do. Yeah, the Borough does. I don't know.
I've asked this question before, but I can't remember what you said. What's the distance in mileage between Sunderland and Borough?
It's about 35 miles, isn't it?
Oh, is it that far? I didn't think it would even be that far. I didn't think it was that far.
I'm not even sure it is that far, is
I'll
it?
do a Google search, lads. Stadium to stadium?
You can just go anywhere, mate.
Yeah.
You tell me. Anyway, I'll do the Google search. You carry on chatting.
Go on, stadium to stadium.
Yeah, okay.
Or edge of Borough to edge of Sunderland. There you go.
Carry on chatting while I'm doing
Do
it.
that one.
I'm surprised.
I had this conversation about, is it a derby? Yeah, I think it's less than 35. If you see another player from another team standing at the school gates going to the same school as your kid, I would think that'd be a derby, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
because
exactly.
that happens regular. Sunderland players and Middlesbrough players.
Yeah.
So we used to bump into. I mean, it does. Yeah, I'd bump into you regular, wouldn't I? Floating around Teesside and surrounding areas. So I wouldn't see. I just think
you don't want to recognise me, mate. In my disguise,
as close as you get. Well, I didn't let on to you most of the time, did I? Because I couldn't recognise you.
By road.
But it is. That's just the way it is.
By road from Daz's house to we won't go there. By road, it's my
just
God.
At the end of Daz's Drive.
It's 20 miles by road between the outskirts of Teesside and the outskirts of Sunderland.
Yeah,
that's mad, isn't it?
It's close.
It's definitely a derby. 20 miles.
It's a derby.
Easy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Stadium to stadium is probably about 30, but 20 miles from the outskirts of Teesside, the outskirts of Sunderland.
Yeah, it's got to be a derby game then, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, how can you not call that a derby game?
Have you sold it out, Daz?
I think so, mate. As far as I'm aware.
Have you? All your away allocations
last time
gone.
I spoke to the... Yeah, last time I spoke to them, mate, they said that all the away allocation had gone, mate. Yeah,
it normally does, doesn't it?
It'd be a good game. Yeah,
I think it'd be a good game.
Yeah,
I do. The only one, Jack Clark obviously worries you, doesn't he? Because he's got something a little bit extra in the Championship. I was hoping he was going to go on deadline day. Was the talk of Lazio for 15 million?
Yeah, there was, mate. Yeah, Lazio put a bid in apparently, and they rejected it. Yeah, wow. Which is an interesting one from Lazio, like it's.
Yeah, it is. Didn't see that coming. So he's the only one really for me. I think, if he's on his game, it's going to be a tough ask. But he'll be up against Luke Ayling, who, plenty of experience, has played in the Premier League, and he's come up against players before. I don't think he'll be worried about him. But like I say, on his day, he's a real handful, isn't he? He's the only worry I've got.
Mate,
other than that, I think both teams are very close. I think it's much of a muchness, really. If you look at the strengths of both of them, especially if Isaiah Jones was playing, they've got Clark, we've got Jones. No centre forwards, and it's sort of similar. They mirror each other quite a bit. They're both fairly strong in midfield. So totally, I think it'll be. I think it'll be a good game. I think it'll be a close game, but I do think there'll be goals in it. So hopefully they go Borough's way.
Not too many, mate.
Dave in the background there.
Just sniggering, mate. I'm assuming it's Clark who's having his tea, is it?
I'm just listening. I'm just listening to the show, lads. I've got no input in this game, so I'm just sitting having a bite to eat.
Hey, you've
what
played
is it,
plenty of derbies, mate. You've played plenty of derbies.
What's he eating? I want to know what he's eating.
Just one of them salads again, Higgy.
Salad. Losing weight.
No, it's a chip salad.
Oh,
With a glass of red.
Yeah. Brilliant.
I tell you what, fellas. While
No, I'm
Clarky's,
looking-
while
I'm
Clarky's
looking
having
forward
his
to the game.
salad, while Clarky's having his fresh lettuce on his salad, Ian Murder's on after this show finishes. So 7 o'clock, black, white, red all over. I think it's a fine time to bring Ian in. I don't know whether he's quaffing a quick one or eating a salad. But Ian, what's on the show tonight?
Well, before I tell you what's on the show tonight, I'd like to congratulate Clarky on his son's performance when he came off the bench for Liverpool against Chelsea. I thought Bobby was absolutely terrific, but I'll tell you what, I bet Lee's pleased he's not a right back, because that performance by Conor Bradley, I think it's the finest performance I've ever seen by a youngster. I know everyone else has said it, I'm not saying anything unique. How good was he? And Liverpool, they've got some young players coming through, haven't they?
Outstanding. And on top of it, he's a great boy. When Bobby first moved down, he got put in with a family, local family to settle in. And the 4 lads that were in the house together was Bobby, Stefan Bajcetic, who's obviously made a big impact in the first team, the Spanish boy, Conor Bradley, and Owen Beck. They're the 4 lads. Owen's gone up to Dundee for the second time this season on loan.
I've seen that, mate.
He's doing well.
Yeah,
he's doing well. But Conor, magnificent kid. But what a performance! Well, he's been outstanding since he came into the team.
Yeah, he has all 3 games, Clarky, hasn't he?
Yeah,
Fantastic.
He's been brilliant, mate. He's been brilliant.
Good to hear. I just wanted to say that. But anyway, my guests tonight, my first guest. Now, I think he joined Sunderland after Darren and Lee were at the club. It's I'm speaking to Danny Collins. He works for the club's in-house commentary team, but I mean, Danny epitomises what Sunderland fans love to see in a footballer: commitment. He's got he had the club under his skin, and he died for the cause, And he's got he'll have some very interesting views, of course, about the way things are at Sunderland at the moment. And my second guest, he'd be slightly later than normal, is the Northern Echo's Dominic Shaw, who, he watches all 3 teams, so he'll be talking about Sunday's Teesweir derby, but we'll also be talking about Newcastle's mini revival, and can it be sustained, and can it even project Newcastle into Europe this season? So it should be a good show.
Cracking.
Ian, just a quick one. We've been talking about, because obviously some people talk about this Sunderland Middlesbrough game not being a derby. You see it as a derby, don't you?
Yes. Listen, it's not as big as the Tyne-Wear derby, but it's still a derby. It's just like, Arsenal Tottenham is a derby, and it's a bigger derby than Arsenal Chelsea. But Arsenal Chelsea is still a derby, So that's the way I see it. Yeah.
Have you got a prediction for us then, mate?
Or you've got to listen into my show. I'll give it at the end of my show, pal.
Love that.
Get them splinters out, Ian. Get them splinters out.
Brilliant stuff. Ian Murder, 38 years, 38th season, writing on North East football. He's up immediately after this show finishes, 7 o'clock. Black, white and red all over. Fellas, back to you. 12 minutes
Dave,
to
can
go.
I just ask Clarky a question?
Of course you
Because
can.
Ian just touched on it a bit there. And Jurgen Klopp obviously made this announcement, which I'm absolutely devastated about, right? It's been a horrible week for me. But he's done unbelievable with all these young players in the team. And how did they take the news, Clarky? And are they a little bit... Well, they will be. They'll be a little bit gutted, because the faith that he showed in them is quite unbelievable, really, for a club who are punching where they're punching, if you like.
Well, first of all, I've got a stat on that, Higgy. Since he's been the manager, he's given 48 academy boys their debut.
Wow.
Now, that's a ridiculous statement from a club as well. This is a club that's expected to win. This is a club that's got massive expectation on it. And there's a manager there ready to put his faith in youth, and he's done it. He's done it already. So it's just like...
It's massive. Whoever comes in next is massive, isn't it? Because the lads will feel like they have to start all over again, if you like.
Oh, I know. And another big thing on that is also the staff going. Pep Lijnders, Peter Kravitz, and Vito. Vito's the guy. He's classed as the talent coach. He's the one who in between the academy and the first team, but he's based up the first team. Now Pep, if Pep goes on, he wants to manage himself now, Pep Lijnders.
Yeah.
He wants to become a manager on his own right. And
Clark, are you surprised you haven't asked him?
I am a little bit. I am, for the continuity.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big step, mind, going from assistant to the manager of Liverpool. But they've done it in the past. I know a long time ago with the old boot room with Paisley following Shankly, and Joe Fagan, Ronnie Moran, Kenny, all that. So, yeah, mate, I thought, and I think he's talked about it. He didn't, whether he wanted that would it, if it didn't work, would it tarnish his time here as well? But and when you asked the question as well, how did they feel, the lads? They were obviously the gutted. You can, by what I spoke to Bobby about. You know, no one knew anything about it until he had the team meeting the morning before it broke, and everyone to a man. You know, I mean, I spoke to him the other day. You know, I just wanted to get a message to him to tell him thank you for how well he's looked after Bobby and what he's done, and he's kept his promises about finding a pathway. And he was different class in his response, you know. So, and also he's stopped a couple of loan moves for Bobby because he said, you know, he wants him to be around for his last 4 months because it could be really exciting. So that was a real positive as well. So, look, could be some exciting days. I tried for 20 years to get myself a Premier League winners medal. This little devil's could do it in a year.
Oh, it's class. But I'm devastated. Anyway, I just thought I'd ask because
I think
it's been such a big story.
But the reaction, I mean, they were outstanding against Chelsea, and obviously they were so dominant against Norwich. So people were saying, could this work against them? But I think it's galvanising everyone, and the atmosphere inside Anfield and the players, that they look ready. But it's a massive test for them on Sunday.
Yeah, Patrick's been on, lads, and he's asking who's the next Liverpool manager.
For me, if you're asking me, and it's Xabi Alonso for me, just because of the things he's doing at the minute are unbelievable in Germany, and he obviously knows Liverpool as a football club. They know him, and if it wasn't going to be one of Jurgen's backroom staff, then I think he'd be my choice. He's the favourite now. He's the overwhelming favourite now.
He is, and I think he'd be a positive with all the supporters. He's loved there.
I think so.
Yeah. But and that's not just the reason why you should appoint him. But you've rightly pointed out, he's had a great managerial career so far. He's worked his way up. You know, started with Madrid's youth team, Sociedad, done well there on a small budget, gone to Leverkusen and just absolutely been outstanding. So I think if he can stay the distance with Leverkusen and get the Bundesliga, that'll be the final box ticked in terms of being able to win a trophy as a coach, because I think everyone understands that's the expectation at Liverpool. That's what you're trying to follow in the history. So I think he is the man in pole position for me.
He's the only one I can think of, really. I can't think of any others. I don't know if you can, Daz.
No, we mentioned that last week, mate. You know, we thought he would come into it. But I was just saying about, obviously, with the manager stepping down. You know, we said that could go, you know, either way, and it looks like at this moment in time, touch wood, that it's driving them forward. To finish the season on a massive high.
Yeah, I remember Alex Ferguson done something similar, didn't he? He announced he was leaving, and then changed his mind actually just before he did it. And then he'd said at a talk I'd seen that it was the biggest regret he'd made was announcing it, because he felt that the lads just knocked off a little bit, and they lost the league because of it, he thought. Yeah. But I think this one's gone the other way. I think everyone, certainly all the players, you can tell all the players are with Jurgen, because like Lee says, the two performances since have been absolutely unbelievable, and I just think they feel as though, you know, if he is going to go out, then let's go out doing something special. And they could win all four. All four are really up for grabs. You know, the top of the league, in the final of the Carabao Cup, they've got a decent draw in the FA Cup, Watford or Southampton at home. And then the league is going to be the big one, isn't it? Because you would
it's a
expect
strength
City
and
to come
depth,
with it.
Higgy.
Yeah.
It's like I said, you look at that bench the other night, you know, there was Cody Gapgo, Ryvan Gravenbach, Andy Robinson, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Harvey Elliott. You know, it's just unbelievable, and they're getting a lot more coming back. You know, Thiago's back in training now. McAllister came back against Chelsea, so you know there's they're getting all that big players like we were talking about earlier with Newcastle. It's what you've got on your bench sometimes tells its own story, doesn't it? When you're a manager or a head coach and you can turn round and you've got loads of options on the bench to change games, it's a massive plus for you.
Yeah, it is. But I just think they're in such a focused state at the minute. You know, nothing seems to bother them, does it?
No.
Doesn't matter what outside influences come in or who has a pop at them, who criticises them. They just crack on with it as if nothing's happened.
Yeah.
And it's like a really tight group that you can't get in. Nothing happens. You can't get in them. Everything just bounces off, and you know. So I think they'll go really close. I do with all four of them.
Yeah, I agree.
Cool. Well, 4 minutes left, fellas. Start
Where do you wanna
focusing
go?
on. I was going to say, start focusing on the games ahead.
Yeah.
And a quick mention for Leeds as well. They could go second tonight.
Yeah, they could with a win. Bristol City they've got, haven't they, tonight?
Yeah.
Leeds have been a bit hit and miss lately, haven't they? But you know, a couple of them have up there. You know, Ipswich have been a little bit hit and miss as well.
Yeah.
But Leeds always, they've got that air about them where you do think they could go on a run where they win 4 or 5 on the bounce. They've obviously got really good players who are all coming back into form. I think Patrick Bamford's hit a bit of form, hasn't he? Just when
he has,
you want them to. So they're going to be a danger. And I think Leeds have still got their sights on catching possibly Ipswich. But listen, Southampton have come with the right run as well. They're not that far off getting right in the mix. You know, I think them 4 are away for me. They're away. It's the Coventrys and West Broms, you know, Sunderland, Hull, but they're all the ones who are trying to get them last 2 places, and I think it's going to be really tight. I do for a lot of clubs.
Yeah, it is.
And what
It's
about
a tight league all the time, isn't it?
What about Newcastle then? Prediction time, weekend.
Yeah, well, we've talked about it, and you know, I think they're in good form. Not saying it's going to be easy, because I think they're going to give it, you know, a good battle. But I think we're home form in the way we're playing at the moment, and getting important players back. I'll go for 2-0 Newcastle. And on Sunday, I'm going to sit on the fence and say a Borough win. Borough win at home.
I like that fence you're sitting on, mate. I'll come and paint it anytime you want.
I've just took a goal off you now, Clarky.
I just think Borough being at home. Piggy's saying it's more important, much more important that they get the 3 points, because it'll bring them level with Sunderland on points. So I think if they were to lose the game, they could find it difficult then, Borough to even have any chance of getting in the top 6.
Who's next?
I'll go Luton. I think Newcastle will beat Luton. I think it'll be 3-0, 3-1. I'll say 3-1. I'll give Luton a goal. But I think Newcastle have far too much for them, and then they found their form again. Look like they're playing much better than they were. Don't look as tired, I don't think, as they were in recent weeks. All the transfer stuff's out the way now, so everyone knows where they stand until the end of the season. I think I can only see Newcastle winning.
Young Daz?
Yep. For me, you know, I did have Newcastle down as 4-1, but Clarky, I sat on the fence. I'm going to go. I'm going to go 3-1 Newcastle. I think they're going to be too strong for Luton at home, and I'm going to go. I think it's going to be a draw, but I'm going to go 2-1 Sunderland.
Ooh.
I'm going to reverse that, Daz. I'm going to go 2-1 Borough.
All right. No worries, mate.
And I've
See you
took a goal
Sunday.
off.
And I've just got to say a big congratulations to Higgy. you didn't draw out to Daz what it's like to score in a Borough-Sunderland derby. So well done, mate.
No, I wouldn't. Don't worry.
Great work.
We're done and
Have a good
dusted.
weekend, guys.
Have a good weekend, fellas.
Yeah, all the best, lads.
Right.
Cheers.
Just going
lads.
to put my video back on, lads.
Yeah, good man. Go and watch yourself. Go and watch yourself. Ian Murder's up next with Black, White, Red all over. Cheers, fellas.
Banter at its best across the Northeast. It's the Three Legends.
The Tune, the Red and the Cat.